welcome to Cruising with Kayfabe. I'm Mongo.
I'm Emily, and today
We are joined by our very special guest from right down the road, across the pond, all the way over in England. We are joined by Adam from Hitting the Turnbuckle. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We've been trying to get you on for a while. We wanted
I
to
know,
connect you.
yeah, you've been on my show a few times, and yeah, you've been on my show a few times, and it's great to finally get onto your guys' show. We finally made it happen, and here to discuss that exciting thing called the C2.
Everyone talks about, they're excited for Christmas, they're excited for Thanksgiving. I'm excited for Continental season, baby. This is my time of year. This is one of my favorite tournaments besides the G1.
I love
Yeah, it's one
scrolling
of mine.
TikTok, but I love
Yeah,
even more that people are talking about how awesome not just this Continental Classic is, but new fans are going back and watching the old one, which
yeah.
to me that says everything. If you can get the old matches over a year later, clearly something was on fire.
Definitely. No, I do enjoy. I had to go back and look at it myself actually. When I was away, I was just scrolling through it because I knew it was coming up. And you are right, Mongo. It is like every you sort of look at it, you go, right, Thanksgiving. Then okay, so I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. By the way, I should have said that at the start. But you look at that and go, right, Thanksgiving, and then you're like C2, and then Christmas, and it all rolls into one really nicely. So this is. I do love AEW this time of year. I love it all year, but this time of year especially because of that with that brilliant tournament that they do.
And it's good too because it tends to be, especially with Tony Khan being busy with the Jaguars and
Mm.
Fulham, it really seems like post all in, there's always kind of like a lull. And sometimes it seems like, yeah, there's matches, there's storylines, but it doesn't always quite hit the way you want. But then you have the Continental
Mm.
Classic hit. You have these matchups, you get stories born out of it. You get some redemptions, and you get some people who maybe you didn't think too highly of originally, but now they got that little bit of magic. They got that little rub. Ricochet really last year
Mhm.
kind of came into his own as a heel, and now this year he's the national champion, about to fight in Ring of Honor and travel the world with a new championship. So I think it can really help get that next crop of talent over to the next year and kind of get that 2026 started off strong.
Indeed. We can't mention Fulham, by the way. They beat my club yesterday.
Oh no.
I can't be dealing with that. I saw Tony's tweet and I was like, I'm not going to tweet on that. Yeah, they beat Tottenham yesterday, which is my team over here. So soccer. I know it's soccer tournament. But you say that. And the other thing that I would say that I love about the Continental Classic is the first one, I believe, when Brody King was in it, because like a lot of times out of 10, you see them in like he was in the House of Black at the time. And I said this actually in the interview, which will be dropping, I think tomorrow with Bishop Khan, that like sometimes you forget just how good people are singly because they're in these teams. And Brody King for me was a shiner. And I think this week, we're going to be talking about Kevin Knight soon. And it's interesting how, again, just to see him singles for 5 matches at least, we're going to get to see just how good these guys really are.
I think I just came to a realization. Do you guys think that Tony Khan's hands in other sports is kind of why we see the tournaments that we see?
Absolutely. And his big
Yeah.
passion for New Japan.
I never thought of that until right now that the tournament style has always been in other sports.
Hmm.
And he definitely, I think, has that feel of wanting to have more of a sports presentation. The way they tried those ranking systems how many times now that just
Hmm.
never quite caught on or were taken seriously.
Yeah, the ranking system never quite caught on, but I think you're right. I mean, I think if you look at like soccer over here, they have this thing called like the FA Cup, where like you get teams from lower down. I'm not saying any of these wrestlers in the Continental Classic are lower down the
Right.
pile, but you'll get a team perhaps or someone that will pull a surprise and go further in the competition than expected. And perhaps that's an idea for the Continental Classic. You got a couple of names that I mentioned, one or even Dorada is another one that perhaps could go further than what any of us could anticipate in the competition. So perhaps he is drawing that somewhat of an underdog story and bringing it into wrestling, which is fantastic because you mentioned the G1 there, but you don't see this in literally in American wrestling at all until Tony brought into this a couple of years ago.
No, and that's great. And that's a big reason why I wanted you on for this particular episode is because the different perspective from British Strong Style and what
Mm.
you're used to seeing Ignite and Rev Pro and all the exciting promotions you have
Yeah.
overseas versus kind of what became standard here, standard bearer in the US. Like you said, we don't have this. So I think it's been new and exciting. I'm ready to dive in. And we have 12 participants who some were kind of a shock, but some, are going to make out some good stories. So let's kind of go over it. First, we'll start with the Gold League. We have Kyle Fletcher, Pac, Kevin Knight, Speedball, Okada, and Darby. So real quick, I'm going to get each of your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the Gold League? How do you like how it's stacked out, and kind of who do you see as your personal favorite to kind of rise up through it?
I think like a personal favorite for mine, just because of the year he's had, is Fletcher. I think he's just been. He is a well. He's like I know he was a champion. We know Briscoe obviously beat him full gear, but I think like in terms of a wrestler that's going to be a world champion, someone who I didn't really have it on my bingo card list to be a world champion, Carl Fletcher for me is one on there. My interesting pick, obviously, and I've mentioned him twice already, Kevin Knight. I think obviously we know that he picked up that big sort of, I think they would call it a bracket buster if it was in a tournament, but a big sort of upset victory this week. But in terms of like all of that talent, like if you look at it, the styles complement each other ridiculously well. All of these guys are so exciting to be wrestling. You know, every match, even on this whole tournament, there's not one match. When you look at across all both leagues, there isn't one match that you can't say you're not looking forward to. Like, you know, Cole Fletcher and Okada is going to be, you know, the Don Callis family. We're going to see a few of that. We're going to see the Blackpool Combat Club meet at some point in this as well in the Blue League. There's just so many different variations, and obviously Pac's in there on his own from the Blackpool Combat Club. And then you've got the Darby Allin, so you've got that feud continuing in there. And of course, obviously, Kevin Knight and Speedball Bailey will go against each other at some point as well, which will be another intriguing contest.
No,
I didn't realize Darby and Pac are gonna go head to head again. I
Yeah.
just like put that one together. I think Kyle Fletcher, like you said, the year that he's had, I'm
Mm.
excited for every single match that he's got. I don't care who he's going up against. I'm seated and I'm watching because if you would have told me Aussie Open Kyle Fletcher was going to be who he is today, I wouldn't believe you.
No.
That long hair, shaggy, almost stoner look to now, I would not think that he was going to be a proto star, like taking everything over. And he's just so exciting. And again, like if I had that pink title belt, I would have been way more happy. But I'm I am thrilled with the run that he's had. It's really impressive when you really look at everything he's doing. And Kevin Knight. I
Mm.
wish Speedball and Knight were in different brackets because I'm not
Mm.
ready to see them go head to head.
Yeah.
But
I think I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I'm excited to see Speedball and Kevin Knight go head to head because, you know, like he was saying at the top of the show, Mitch, a couple of times, seeing those people that are in teams or have kind of
Mm.
gotten that tag team mentality, seeing them go against each other in that friendly rivalry, like the old Ring of Honor style, like the handshake and then they just go to town, they go to the match.
Yeah.
And you already saw Speedball. You know, he took a loss in the opening round against Pac, and he was upset, and
Yeah.
he basically went to the camera. Was like, "I guess no more Mr. Nice Guy. I guess I got to go out there and remind everybody who I am." And then Kevin Knight, and we can call it a bracket buster. It's like the NCAA. It's like that Cinderella story to start out. You know, he gets that surprise win over Darby and hits that incredible coast to coast, which I've seen that clip countless times online. And there's just so much potential. And I think Gold has such heavy hitters that it's hard to say who's going to be a pin eater in the Gold League
Mm.
because every single one of them could walk away with this tournament in second or first place very easily. I mean, Fletcher was runner up last year and has beaten Okada 2 tournaments in a row now. So he's someone definitely to watch out for me. I agree with both of you on that one.
He is, and oh, sorry, you would have thought of like when you said about pin eaters, you would have thought Kevin Knight would have been the shoe in for that, really, wouldn't you? In terms of, or him and I know Speedball has lost one, but if you looked at the rest of the group, you would have probably put them two in there. But you mentioned that about no more Mr. Nice Guy, so it will be interesting to see if Speedball and Kevin Knight are at some point next week.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, round two definitely, you know, it starts next week and it goes into Columbus, into essentially Ring of Honor at the GalaxyCon, so it kind of overlaps. So this whole week, not only is it All Elite Week over at Hitting the Turnbuckle, cheap plug for later, but it's also essentially the C2 all week. We have Dynamite and then we have Collision and Ring of Honor. So the Collision at GalaxyCon is going to be round two, and the Blue League's already been kind of announced for that, and the Blue League's shaping up too because you have two Death Riders in that. You have Mox and Claudio, and you have Takeshita, who's opposite of Okada this year, Roderick Strong, Mascara Dora, and Orange Cassidy. So slightly different lineup, different contrasting styles, but I want to get both your thoughts on the Blue League and how you kind of see this one shaping out, especially with the two Death Riders already going head to head this week.
Emily, go on.
I just want to double check something. My math doesn't always math, but Okada has to win in order to keep his title?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, so if Okada loses to Fletcher,
he already did.
so
He lost the opening round to Fletcher, so he's already lost his first match. But there's still 5 more matches.
that's right. So Okada can't lose anymore, and Fletcher has
Well,
to win
it's a
all
point.
of them.
Remember, it's a point system, so
That's
it's
what I'm
3
saying.
points.
So Okada would have to win.
Not necessarily, because it depends on the other. It turns out everything. You're just too early in the bracket to do this. He's not eliminated yet. I think I know what you're saying with, but he won't lose the title unless he's mathematically eliminated.
Fletcher's
Yeah.
got to go.
But we're going on the
6
blue
for
league.
6.
We're going on the blue league.
Is it 5 for 5?
We're going on the blue league.
5-5, yeah.
5 for 5. Okay.
So we're on the blue league though.
I get that, but I just wanted to double check that my brain was in the right capacity here that he has to win. The Blue League, again, we see tag team after tag team. Is Dorada the only one that doesn't have, like, a tag team-ish faction going on
He's
in this
kind of
whole
like
bracket?
he's kind of like the Beast Mortis was last year. Yeah, he's kind of
Yeah.
in there as representation for CMLL, but also kind of someone in there that's a little different, adds a different style.
Because Roderick and Orange, Takeshita, and the Don Callis family, Death Riders, and tag teams are all over this.
Yeah,
Roderick and
they
Orange
are.
are kind of sorted together, not really.
Yeah, it would be interesting because obviously Moxley coming off the back of some big defeats. I know that he's won the last couple, but there's obviously going to be a point in this where something's going to happen there because and I'm just wondering whether the Claudio Moxley match that they will have at some point, whether that's going to start the shift within the Death Riders to perhaps Moxley becoming out of the Death Riders at one point. I don't know what you guys think about that.
So I definitely agree because I was shocked that I think it's too early because they announced for this Wednesday in Indiana it's Okada. I mean Okada versus Pac. So the Gold League's all set, but the Blue League Mox is already facing Claudio.
Mm.
So I think it's a little early, but I agree. I think it's to set that divisiveness because all 3 Death Riders have 3 points. They all have 1 win in the opening round.
Yeah.
Who's the first Death Rider? Does Pac take the first take the first pinfall to keep that tension going? Does Mox put over Claudio, or does Claudio, who is fresh off his CMLL World Title win in Mexico, looking like a real leader, kind of looking like that guy that's going to take over Death Riders? Does he get a win over Mox to keep that downfall? Because like Adam said, Mox has been on a losing streak, and there's someone in the league that also has it out for him. Roderick and Orange both have revenge against Mox on the mind. Roderick because he hurt Kyle O'Reilly, and Orange because he's put his life through hell for the past year and a half. So I think that's the other thing is everyone in this tournament, sans Takeshita, has beef with Moxley. So I think the Blue League almost seems like it's a way to kind of help, like Adam said, propel that story for Mox. And I don't know. I think my favorite on this one, Takeshita coming out, but I think runner-up, I think Claudio is going to be runner. I think it's going to be Takeshita and Claudio taking the Blue League.
I agree. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I think we're going to get to a Takeshita Okada final. I think that's where my personal thing would be heading. That the only other potential would be a Death Rider final, but I can't see that happening. I think I'm not quite sure Pac will make it out, and I do agree. I think Claudio out of Mox, out of those 2, are going to make it out of the blue. I think Claudio and Takeshita will make it out of the Blue League, and out of the Gold League, it will be Okada. Maybe Fletcher for that would be an interesting there. The Don Callis family would have literally 3 members of the 4 out of there, and then maybe we'll finally see the breakup that we've been waiting for.
I think so because my prediction is Fletcher actually winning the Gold League and Okada being runner-up because of math. Because Fletcher has that win over Okada, I think it's going to be that because of how World's End works, where just like the G1, where the runner-up of the gold faces the winner of the blue. I could see a Claudio and Okada in the semifinals with Okada getting to the finals and having to wait for Fletcher and Takeshita because, again, like you said, those 3 members of the Don Callis family, they kind of have to fight out. And then who's going to be the alpha male of the Don Callis family? Is Takeshita going to go? Because then you have World's End, you have that Takeshita-Okada finals, and everybody will be here for it. Just like last year when you had Will and Okada, everybody was there for it. Like I remember we all kind of knew that Fletcher and was going to happen, but seeing Okada and Will Ospreay tear it up at World's End, I think they're going to kind of mirror that because again, Okada, he's the best tournament wrestler. Takeshita is trying to prove that he's better than Okada. They're even feuding into New Japan. Okada's saying, I sold 10,000 tickets when I was announced. You didn't do anything. So they're even saying in New Japan, like, they needed me. They didn't need you, and you're the champion. It's so personal. I think that's going to be Takesha's motivation. I think you talk with someone who's going to go, going to get a perfect 15 points or get close to it. I think Takesha is going to run the table to prove a point.
Yeah, and it's as you said, it's great though that they're interlinking with Japan, right, with the storylines. The last thing you'd want to do is be like big friends over there, right? So it's great that they're interlinking. Perhaps that's where the relationship comes in, where they're really working well over there with AEW. But it is so intriguing. There are so many different things that you could look at on here, and that's the best. I think that's why I really like the groups this year. Not that I haven't liked them before, but when you look at this and you look at the sort of intertwining stories that are going on, not only with the opponents, but with the actual factions itself, it's making it such a exciting week after week. You're looking forward to it even more. Not necessarily, but you know the match quality is always going to be there. AEW, without a doubt, will always deliver that. But now it's the important bit because Tony Khan's putting the storylines with it, which may be something that he hasn't necessarily done before, but I think is just going to make this one maybe arguably the best one out of the three they've done so far.
And the locations are crazy because, I mean, just looking ahead, we said round 2 is in Columbus this week and Indiana, but then round 3, where it starts really getting to the meat of this, it starts out at Winners Coming Atlanta, but then it goes to Cardiff for Collision. Yep. And then round 4, the whole day, it's a double taping December 17th in Manchester. You're going to get that. So round 4, which could be very pivotal because that's going to be a last push. Somebody could be eliminated. Somebody could have to make a run. So not only that, but they're also giving their overseas partners, hey, look, we're going to go ahead and have essentially 2 rounds in United Kingdom. That's incredible, I think, too, to kind of help get more eyes on the product. Where, I mean, you probably attest to this. It's a bigger viewership right now in the UK. I mean, Forbidden Door set the record, and I mean, you were at Forbidden Door, you had the media, you saw it firsthand. Forbidden Door was probably one of the craziest crowds they've had this year, and one of the most passionate crowds. And I think them taking the C2 into the United Kingdom, them taking it there, I think is the right move. Going to Cardiff and going to Manchester, I think you're going to get a passionate, rabid fan base, and those matches are just going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, they will be. And a good point to add is that the great television deal that TK's put together with ITV4 over here in the UK. So for those of you that don't know, it's practically on every television that is sold in the UK has something called Freeview on it. And ITV4 is on Freeview. So you don't have to have a separate, like a Netflix or an ESPN or anything like that. You don't have to have that subscription to be watching Dynamite and Collision over here in the UK. You just need a television with Freeview on it, and there it is. So he's also straight away, before we even talk about the Continental Classic, he's already opened up that door over here in the UK, which has got massive viewership, which ultimately puts the bums in the seats anyway, because it is more accessible over here in the UK to watch for the UK fans. So when it comes to touring over here, he's already got a 3-point lead from the television deal alone. But you're right, the crowd will be well up for this in Cardiff and Manchester. No disrespect to Cardiff, but Manchester especially, they're going to be very loud over there in Manchester. I've been to see shows over in Manchester before, so it's going to be a hell of a free tapings over here in the UK. And I'm gutted I can't make it to them, but I'm sure that they're going to be, as you say, Forbidden Door was crazy. The last couple of All-Ins over here have been incredible, and obviously we're looking forward to All-In again next year. But that's the great job that you have. And he doesn't get enough credit, TK, in a lot of things, but for the television deal over here in the UK, it's just such a win-win for what he's done for that sense, because like I said, it opens up the world really, or the whole of the UK to AEW, which other companies don't do over here.
No, and it's great. And I like seeing it from a fan's perspective, because there's nothing worse than a lame duck crowd, or when you see a crowd where it's like, I went to a couple football games up in the New England area, and for a while, people were just used to them winning or used to them being good. So you go to the game and there wouldn't be those passionate fans. We used to call them the rich fans, the ones who went so they could say they would go, and they would sit there and it'd be a little, it's like, no, this is exciting, have fun. And when you see that on television or that style, you're like, well, the crowd has no energy. I mean, how many times have we seen a match where the crowd's flat? It's a great match, but the crowd's, flatter than a pop that you left out in the car all day. Or so. It's just, it's terrible.
Yeah, it is. I went to a UK show, funnily enough, recently, where there was a match there, and it was so good. It was two young talents, like first time I'd ever seen it. But the problem is the crowd just weren't. It wasn't the right crowd for the match. You mentioned British Strong Style, right? But this was a family show. She had a majority of kids and parents who don't really know enough about wrestling. The good news is you won't get that at AEW because you will get the fans that know everything about it. But I get your point with that.
No, I definitely like it, and I think also, I mean, think about some of the matches that we have remaining that they haven't announced yet that could be overseas or even could be in Hammerstein or towards the semifinals. I mean, we talked about Okada. They still have to schedule Pac versus Speedball versus Kevin Knight versus Darby. So you know at least two of those are going to be in the UK. Okada versus Speedball in Cardiff or in Manchester, I think would be the right choice. I know. I don't want to kind of get your thoughts on it. Which out of those Okada remaining matches, knowing the international kind of draws, which one do you think you'd rather see in one of those shows with that kind of crowd?
Oh, I know the one that I think will be at Hammerstein, and I think it's because you know Hammerstein's ECW territory. Pac and Darby. I know you talk about Okada, but Pac and Darby Allen would be for me. It's got to be a shoe in for Hammerstein. I just think because you know what they're going to do, they're just going to kick the living hell out of each other. Do you know what Okada's match is? I don't know. Maybe they'll do Okada Derby in the UK. I think you have to have that sort of. I know the fans love Okada over here, though. That's. Yeah, I don't know how you can't love Okada. The character of him is just hilarious. I still never forget that time when he's backstage with the button. He's like, yeah, press the wrong button. And he's like, bitch, and everyone just laughs.
The amount of times we just look around the house at each other and we're like, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, it is integrated into my everyday life.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I think Okada Derby will be over here. Maybe just because the UK, and I don't think they'll put Pac and Darby Allen over here, just because the crowd Pac, especially if it's in Manchester, Pac's from Newcastle, that isn't separated by a very far distance. So I would perhaps they could do Fletcher and Pac or Okada and Pac over in Manchester, just because the dynamics of face and heel. Pac will be the favourite over here in the UK. So I think they have to be careful who they put Pac up against. So it would make sense for a Fletcher Pac or an Okada Pac matches to be scheduled over here.
That would be good. Yeah, I think that would be hard, but yeah, I think Pac Fletcher would be good because Fletcher could take the heat. He could roll with it. I agree.
Fletcher can take anything right now. He's the MVP of 2025 MVP of wrestling, not just AEW, but wrestling is Carl Fletcher.
I like it. All right, and then for Blue League, some of the matches that we have coming up, I think I'm going to ask you, Ems, and Sam, who do you think could maybe be Hammerstein? Think of the Hammerstein, think of that, or you think of where you'd like to see these. I'm going to go with Takeshita on this one. So we know obviously Takeshita. So Takeshita Claudio has already been announced. But what about Takeshita versus Mox or Takeshita versus Orange? Someone he's never faced before. Maybe offer kind of a different struggle for him because it's a different style of match so he hasn't wrestled yet.
These are the matches where Orange pulls out all the stops. I'm excited for Orange Cassidy to face everyone because his style is so diverse that the way that he handles himself, his speed, his agility, everything, like his core strength, you don't expect what Orange has to offer. And then he whips out his speed with his like lucha style. Everything about Orange Cassidy I love, and I'm excited for every match he has coming. Okay. I can't pick who because like it's just Orange Cassidy.
Okay, so we know who your favorite is going through your underdog. So obviously, where Roderick's probably going to be the person who has to eat some pins, but his first real revenge match won't be until he faces Mox and Claudio. So he's got the Death Riders, probably presumably back to back. If I was going to guess, that would be a good Wales Manchester connection, maybe because you have someone who's already kind of beloved. Ring of Honor, when he went to New Japan, he was pretty much well loved. Yeah. Have him go over there. Maybe he gets a surprise win over Mox because Mox can't believe it. He lost to Roderick too, and that could lead that tension. But then obviously gets absolutely destroyed by Claudio.
Yeah, I think that one of them is destined for the Hammerstein Roderick versus one of the two. Again, I go back to the hardcore element and the Hammerstein Ballroom.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I think one of them, but I do agree that one of them will be over. I mean, obviously, law of averages would state one of them would be over here anyway. I would probably save Mox for Hammerstein again, just for that element of where they are. I would probably put Claudio and Roderick at one of the shows, but again, Claudio is very well liked over here in the UK. So it's whether you do that or do you put him against Takeshita when you're over here. Orange is going to be universally loved. He's one of those guys. It doesn't really matter where he is, and I would say that it would probably be better to have him. Maybe he'll go against Takeshita over here in the UK. Orange. I mean, that would be great. I agree with Emily though. Orange has a habit of like pulling. When he was international champion, he'd done about 30 title defenses, and you got to see different elements of his skill set, which perhaps people don't, because a lot of people, when I first saw him, I just thought he was going to be a comedy character that just puts his hand in his pockets and flies around. But there's so much more to him than that, and that run as international champion, you did see that. So I think but he is universally loved. So I do agree. I see Orange there or thereabouts in the group. I know it's like Freeze halfway technically when you look at numbers, but I don't think he'll be far behind. And I think it's going to go down to the wire, maybe between him and Mox for one of the top two of that group, and then it will come down to the final week, and perhaps the final week you'll have like a rubber between one of those two in that group to get the second or first place, depending on the positions.
Oh, yeah, that would be an interesting dynamic too. I never thought about kind of having that third match to decide everything. That would be, yeah, and that's something like you said earlier at the top of the show, when Tony books these, he books these to the storyline, but he definitely looks at like, okay, well, if this person wins, what does it mean for the tournament? I think he really looks in that, and I think even looking ahead at some of these matchups, like it's really hard to say who's going to eat the pin in some of these matches because a lot of these people are very well protected. I mean, Takeshita, besides Dorado, we know, I think Takeshita Dorado's, I hate to say it's kind of foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Takeshita versus Claudio or Takeshita versus Mox, that can go either way. And then, you have Orange Cassidy, Roderick, Dorado, Mox, and Takeshita. Do we really see him only winning one of those? Like, I think that's what's hard. So I guess to ask you guys both each, who do you think your biggest surprise, besides Kevin Knight? So I know you said Kevin Knight earlier. Who do you think your biggest surprise? Either maybe they get a lot of upsets and they don't do as well, or maybe they kind of surprise you and get a few more wins than you thought they would. Either league's fine.
I'm going to go Blue League, and I'm going to say Moxley might not win another match in the Blue League. And he doesn't get even nowhere near qualifying for the next. And that brings to the whole, Death Riders. Maybe Pac surprises the odds and gets through in the gold group, and Claudio gets through in the blue, and Mox is languishing at the bottom of the Blue League. And again, that's a whole weakness. And maybe he loses a lot by tap out, because that seems to be his thing, right? He taps out every time someone he seems to panic and taps. Maybe Strong beats, maybe even Orange does him by tap out. Maybe he'll do the was it Slumdog Millionaire that he does, or something like that, or he'll pin him like that. But that would be my thing. That's my sort of out there thing, that Mox won't win another match in the Continental Classic and finish bottom of that group. He's the pin eater, as we've been talking about. And in gold, other than obviously we mentioned Kevin Knight, I'm going to sit there and stick my neck out and say Pac upsets the odds and breaks the Fletcher Okada top two that we think is going to happen.
I like it. All right, Emily, what about you? What are you thinking? I guess either you're surprised someone's going to win that no one thinks, or you're surprised someone's going to lose in either gold or both, like how he ever did. So how are you going to answer it?
I think however this ends, Fletcher wins. I think that I don't quite still understand what they're doing with this title, splitting it off. I don't want to talk too much about it because I know it's getting hate. I just want to say I think Fletcher takes this and then we split and have the extra title again.
Okay.
Which I liked. I liked having the split title. I didn't like that they unified it. So yeah.
I like it. See, I agree with Adam about Mox being the pin eater. I think Dorado's going to have an upset. I don't see Dorado losing every match, so I think Dorado's going to come in. I think he's going to probably upset someone. And I think he's going to upset... I mean, he can't obviously upset Moxley, beat him. I think he's going to upset Orange. Orange, I think, can take that loss. I see everyone thinking Orange Cassidy's going to get that win. I think him getting that shock victory, and it'll lead to Orange having to take the next one seriously. Maybe that's the one that kind of gets him going. But I think that's kind of my big shock for that. I agree with the Mox. And then Gold League... I like that. I think I'm gonna say Speedball is gonna kind of get momentum. I think he'll be derailed towards that. I think Speedball will pick up a couple shocking victories that people don't expect him to win, and I think that's what's great about it is because it could even be a draw. Like we haven't even talked about the
Yeah,
participants. Could be some draws.
I think that's what Claudio and Mox are going to be,
Okay, that's fair.
probably.
because I think that there's going to have to be a tiebreaker at some point for the Don Callis family or for the Death Riders. I
Mhm.
think that if that's even a thing, like 3 people have a tie in points or something, I don't know. But I feel like there needs to be some sort of payoff for this, because you can't just, like Mongo said, this is way too soon. This week we get
Mm.
Claudio and Moxley.
Yeah,
No. And how do you pick right now unless Claudio chokes him out because he knows that's his weakness
I like
yeah,
it.
and
could
goes
do.
for the ankles, swing him?
Yeah,
Like, there's so many things that can go on here that really, Claudio's been able to study Moxley, but Moxley isn't always there to support Claudio, so there's that
yeah,
as
I was
well.
gonna say usually it's just Marina who comes out for Moxley's matches, but lately, it's all the Death Riders kind of hang towards Claudio. Even in Mexico, last night, Claudio was kind of talking, and they were throwing beer cans and trash at Moxley. And Daniel Garcia has a great video where he's walking out, and there's crowds of people yelling that old school heel heat, like get the hell out of my venue. I mean, last time something like that happened was when MJF had to be like taken away, like in basically an Escalade out of the venue because they were trying to attack the car after he attacked Mystico. Which
yeah.
I'm sad because I know Dorada's in it. Maybe they didn't want him to eat pins. I was really hoping we got Mystico in the tournament. I was like fantasy booking that we got Mystico in this tournament because I think you want to talk someone that put some eyes on this tournament for maybe the outside even more. Mystico being in this tournament would do wonders.
Mm.
So maybe next year, maybe we get Mystico in this.
One thing that we need next year though is a women's Continental
Yes.
Classic. Well, no, we got the women's tag, but we need the women. I know if they have to split it and do like the women's one at the start of the year and the men's one at the end, or however they do it, we need a women's one next year.
I think what they should do is do, like, every few months rotate your tournaments. Start with
Yeah,
the tag teams, then move on to the women for this kind of a tournament, and then move on to
The Owen.
men, like the Owens,
yeah,
and then you can do the women's tag tournament and the men's continental. There's
yeah.
so many ways that you can go about it that it would be beautifully done. But I want to see constant, like, there's always should be a tournament happening because it makes for such good storytelling.
I
Yeah.
mean, what if next year maybe they do their first ever women's pay per view and they have like a Continental Classic, kind of like they do the playoffs at the pay per view. That way, it makes the matches meaningful. But then you could also have your championship matches defended. So that way, you can easily book the card. So you have 3 matches be tournament, semifinals to finals,
Yeah.
and then you have the championship. That could be an easy way to do an all women's pay per view. And if my tinfoil hat prediction of Miss Pamela Martinez, aka Bailey, being all elite next year, that could be easily someone that I think could help enter that tournament, help get that going.
That will be interesting. So is that your pick? Was it for Nick? I didn't know that you picked Bailey to be all elite
I,
next year.
I think by all in next year, that Bailey will be all elite.
What do you think of the new one? They signed a new woman recently. What do you think of that one coming in? The
The story?
no, who's the latest? Who's the latest signing that they made
Oh,
on
Lacey.
Lacey
Oh,
Lane?
Lacey Lane.
Lacey Lane.
I'm
Mm.
excited.
Yeah,
Kayla Carter, formerly.
That's what it was, Mike. I'm trying to think of her NXT name. Like it's blanking on them.
I know, like, for the most part, we've only really seen her with Casey, and
hmm
I think that, or Katana, however you
Was she the
remember
one on
her.
American Ninja Warrior? Okay.
Yes, the American Ninja Warrior. Her and Casey together had such great chemistry. They did everything together outside of WWE. So I
yeah,
think that Lacey coming in is going to be really fun, and I'm excited to see what more she's going to bring, because she's going to bring in this different style of women that we have a lot of smaller women.
yeah.
But
you
if
also
you throw her up against somebody like Rio,
or someone that she's been wanting to face and hinting at for a while, Maya World and High End, who are also rumored to be
Yep.
close to signing. I know Sean Ross Sapp put out there was interest in signing them, and having seen High End face some of the best women in the world, especially here in DPW, and seeing the dog collar match with Danny Luna, and I know you're familiar with Danny Luna.
Oh yes.
I think something like that, you have someone like that who have chemistry with them. I think that's what it is. They're focusing on building that roster. So I agree. Let's do a Continental Classic for the women next year. There's easily 12 women on that roster that could
Easy.
that could go, and it'd be highly entertaining.
Oh, it would be incredible. It's easy. I mean, it took me by surprise that Lacey Lane one, though. I wasn't expecting it when I heard about it. But again, like, and I'm going to give you a name here that I know isn't AEW related, but Ash by Elegance was a prime example of someone that done everything that they needed to do in WWE, but they never gave her the time. They never gave her an opportunity to connect with the audience. I know it happens every company, not just WWE. It happens everywhere. But when she went to TNA, they gave her exactly what WWE didn't give her. And obviously, up until her retirement, due to whatever the injury was, she created. And the other one was AJ Francis. People hate AJ Francis, but if you look at his work in WWE when he went to TNA, it's night and day. And they've both become such important people. And Lacey Lane could be one of those real outsiders that nobody really thought about. That I know they're not in it. I know they're not doing the Women's Continental Classic, but she could be one of those wrestlers that just haven't had the rub of the green. And AEW could give her that rub of the green, much like maybe like Bear Bronson, who's maybe going to TNA, like someone like that. You find that home, right, that just fits. And I think perhaps with Lacey Lane, it could just be AEW where it fits.
No, and that's why I like about having multiple companies where they can go,
Oh
because
yeah,
sometimes it's, that style might work. Like, I'm happy you brought Bear. I'm so happy if Bear goes TNA. You want to talk about someone that kind of got the short end of the stick?
mm.
He's a worker. He did everything he was supposed to do. He was a fantastic. I mean, the multiple times we got to chat with him up at Limitless when we saw him, fantastic guy. I mean, first thing he did was take off his bear mask, give it to Cam, and say, "Hey, don't worry, my name's Joe. I'm a good dude. I'm just here to have fun too." And like instantly just charmed and was so nice. And seeing his work on the indies now, he's doing death matches and he's going out there and showing
Yeah,
what a great worker he is. And I hope he gets signed to TNA because he's someone that should get that spotlight.
yeah. Hope so. We'll see. We will see though in the future. Hopefully not too long, much longer though.
But so that's kind of the little rundown on the Continental Classic. And I know you said you had a question for us, so we had some time to think about. So
Yes. So I was racking my brain. I was at an independent show over here in the UK today, funnily enough, and I was sitting there knowing I was coming on, and I thought to myself, like, we talk about Continental Classics, and it's always, we're always going to be disappointed. Oh, this guy in it, this guy in it. And I was thinking, right, well, imagine that you had an opportunity to do a Continental Classic where all the companies got on. It didn't make no difference who you wanted in. And I wanted you to pick a gold and blue league. Before you do yours, I'm going to give you my
ooh,
leagues.
okay.
It's only I didn't do women, unfortunately. Sorry, I didn't do that. I was going to do that, but I was thinking timing and whatnot. So maybe that's another conversation for another time. My gold league is Kenny Omega, Seth Rollins, Zack Sabre Jr.,
Oh,
Leon Slater, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Braun Breaker. And
okay.
my blue league is, and this is where it goes a little bit British independent. So I appreciate maybe people that watching may not know, but I would suggest check them out. Obviously, Will Ospreay, Michael Oku, Chad Gable, Luke Jacobs, British independent wrestler, Rev Pro Progress Champion, Carl Fletcher, and Josh Alexander.
Okay.
Those,
That is a technical showcase on that side. That is.
yeah, yeah. I didn't do a winner or anything like that. I just thought I'd just pick them. But I was interested to know that if you could have your own blue and gold leagues and nothing, and didn't matter what company they was in, who would you have?
All right, do you have your list?
Well, I gotta get 6 more. I only did 6. I
All
gotta
right.
get.
Well, while you're
Whoops.
doing that, I can do mine while you're doing yours
Okay.
then. So my goal league, I guess I went a little different, but I have Jake something.
Yep.
I have Jacob Fat 2,
Yeah.
Beast Mordos, Luchasaurus, Samoa Joe, and Obafemi.
That is a meat. You just call that group meat slapper, right?
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, I wanted like that meat group that would just be just a shit house.
Yeah.
Then my other league, I went a little different. It's kind of funny. We went the same way, but I went Osprey,
Hmm.
Rollins,
Yeah.
Claudio, Montez Ford,
Oh, yeah.
and then Ricky Knight Jr.
RKJ.
I won the
Interesting.
RKJ. He's someone that
I almost put him
he's been announced to the Jacuzzi since we got to talk to Zach. I started following him a lot more, and I really like his style. And I think he's someone that I think I'd like to see him take on someone like a Claudio or a Rollins. I think he would work so well with them.
Yeah.
And I figured Osprey, him having that connection, maybe he could mentor him in the group. Maybe he could be the kind of the person to kind of help, show him the ropes, and obviously Osprey, like you picked him too. Best of the Super Juniors. That dude's a tournament. That he's built for tournaments. So that's kind of who I just Montez Ford, because I just want to see that man do his thing. Montez Ford's someone I love watching. I don't think he gets enough credit.
He needs to be a single. I know they were going to split him up before, but they need to do that pretty quickly, because I feel as if big things are on his way if they do it right for him.
I agree. All right. So what do we got for your 12? Your gold and blue.
All right. So I guess gold would be Mystico, Orange Cassidy, Kevin Knight, Will Ospreay, Michael Oku, and Swerve.
Okay.
That way you get like a
Swerve, yeah.
mashup of everything, and I feel like that's dream matches that we've seen, but also, can we get them back again?
Yeah.
And Mystico is just like,
He's fun.
he is everything you can want in a wrestler. I talked about Sin
agreed.
Cara, my love for him. And then on the other side, I have Trick Williams, Rey Mysterio, Ace Austin, Leon Slater, Will Hobbs, and Javion Evans.
Okay.
I like the fact that you put Will Hobbs in there as a totally different from everybody else. That would be a real interest, because you could imagine him throwing Javon Evans like into row 4 of the arena. That's a great. To have someone different in there like that, because we've kind of gone similar, Mongo, in terms of like technical. I know you went with the meat slapping group, but to put one in there with that group, it makes it very interesting.
I think Will Hobbs and Ace Austin would have a fantastic matchup. They are both beef. I would love to see the two of them in a match.
Yeah, I think that could happen. Could happen anyway. Don't need to.
Yeah, we don't need this to have that happen. Tony Khan.
No, I
Okay.
think we could do a whole fun episode on like fantasy booking at WrestleMania. Like you said, if all companies are participating, I think you can make.
Can I just say that if all companies were participating, I don't think it would be WrestleMania.
I think that would be the definition of WrestleMania.
I think it would be a Wrestle Kingdom. I think it would
Okay.
be something like that. If we could
Wrestle
see,
Universe.
Yes.
that would be, if it was going to happen, to have every promotion involved, I really see that happening in New Japan at the Tokyo Dome. I don't see it happening anywhere else.
Just don't have it in Saudi.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd like
no.
to go to that. Just
Well,
not
because
inside.
I only say that because we have seen WWE showing up in New Japan again.
Yes.
No,
So
and
you
their
could
partnership with
easily
Noah.
get that.
I know. I feel like that's just my dream wish. If fans could realize that if you just watch and have fun, like that's why I love the Continental Classic, and I like that question that you presented, because it's fun to think outside the box. Because so many people just think under the guise just those 3 letters versus thinking of the fun and the technical spectacle, as your Continental Classic would be called, the technical spectacle. Because
I think it would.
I would love to see ZSJ tear it up in a Continental Classic. Like, you can ask her at All In when he was a surprise entrant. She laughed at me because I was like, yes, because I was so happy, because I'm like, him and Nigel in the same ring.
Yeah, that was incredible. That's an amazing moment.
But before we wrap up, I wanted to give you a chance, if you want to make sure you plug your socials, so that way they know where to follow you, and also some upcoming things that you have coming up that they want to tell you about.
Yeah, thank you very much. Listen, HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on all other social media outlets. Coming up this week, and you've already alluded to it, All Elite Week on HTTB. We're having interviews with I called it the man in a demand, Bishop Khan. So we're talking things about Ricochet. We're talking about stuff that he done before that, some matches that perhaps people don't know that he's already had, which was nice. And then later on in the week, we're talking to Preston Vance from when I messaged him, I called it the frat party. I think I had predictive text on, but it was but we're not just talking about that. We're talking about his journey, his battling of Crohn's disease, his homelessness, that he dealt with, pretty much everything up until right now. And even the moment when he got the call to say, you're kind of all elite in a lot of ways, and how that, how he was feeling at that point. Plus, I got them to do a little bit of bonus round, because AEW are coming over here in the UK. We do have our controversial foods. So my background screen will be changing throughout the show, throughout both of these 2 interviews. And I give them 5 each of British controversial foods. I tell them what's in them, and they give me their responses of whether they would eat or drink Z Food. So that's coming up as well. We're sitting down this week with Damian Sandow, Aaron Stevens from NWA, and because we're watching Exodus Pro Wrestling next weekend, we'll be also speaking to EC3 ahead of their show this weekend as well. And coming up, Ridge Holland from the WWE, or Luke Menzies, depending on what way you want to call it. That will be coming up soon as well. And lastly, our championship match will be announced whenever I'm allowed to announce it for Ignite Wrestling Pro in February the 15th, Chapter 5 over here in the UK. So you UK fans, if you want to come and say hello, watch some great British wrestling, go to 96 Eventbrite, type in Ignite Wrestling Chapter 5. The tickets are there. Thank you, my friend.
And thank you. No, I appreciate you coming on, and definitely go give them a follow. You guys do great. I'm glad that we were able to discover each other, and I get to kind of see what you do, and I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, you've had us on before for your All 8 reviews and other breakdowns, and we want to return the favor, and obviously you're more than welcome here. And I have some ideas on some other shows we can hopefully get you on, but as you hear, he's a very busy man, so we'll make sure that it fits in the schedule, and hopefully also see you at All In next year, because I'm turning the big 4-0 next year, so I figured what better way to kind of treat myself than take the old family to Wembley. So we might see you in person at All In.
Well, you can join my club, which is Club 40. I'm a little bit older than that, 41. I'll be 42 at the time of AEW. But yeah, you can have an English pint with me to celebrate Club 40 if we do. But look, yeah, I'm up for any show. Just obviously, if we can make it work, then I'll be more than happy. And likewise, I'll be tapping you guys up to come on. I think World's End is coming up, so I'll be looking to do a review on that if you guys are available. Yeah, definitely. But thanks for this opportunity. It's great to finally come on your show after coming on mine for the last couple of occasions.
No, absolutely. And appreciate everyone for listening. Appreciate everyone, Adam, for coming on today. And make sure you give us a follow as well at CWK Podcast and Cruising with Kayfabe on all socials. And remember, like we always say, have a good day. And remember, always keep the kayfabe.